Hey guys, it's GalahadB again, and I am back with game 2 between MadRobin and myself. I am down one game since I have lost my game as 3 people against MadRobin, so now I must win this game as Shadow to force a game 3, or I will be out of the tournament. And um, yeah, I basically need to win 2 more games to have a shot at reaching the semifinals. Well, actually, no. If I do win 2 games, then I will be at the semifinals. But anyway, so this is game 2. I will be playing Shadow against MadRobin's 3 people. So yeah, I start with Shadow's Gather, amazing card. Always love to see that, and also happy to see that on turn 1. I'm a little sad though. 0 Masters turn 1, certainly not what you're looking for as Shadow, and then 2 Palantirs, but not really a playable card. I mean, technically, Shadow Scalar is playable, but it's usually not a good play turn 1. And yeah, 3 people get an okay roll. I mean, 2 Masters is not what you want to see, but it's not the worst usually. And 2 movement against only 2 eyes is pretty good. She moves, and I hit her. So we basically start out the same as game 1. um, and it's a 2 in reveal actually, because I roll a double 6 and then draw an eye, so that's pretty good. She sacks Gandalf. So yeah, not the worst. Um, and so I decide to draw a character card because, like, okay, I have nothing playable anyways. I'm gonna have to draw something, and who knows, maybe I draw something playable. But nope, Gron not playable at this point in time. I shuffle armies along. I draw this time a strategy card. So I'm going for balanced approach. I'm not sure yet if I should go corruption strategy or not, but that early reveal definitely makes it possible. And I roll into another eye. So it really does start out like game 1. um, and she reveals into Harlan. So now I decide, okay, let's get my reroll and shuffle armies along. She hides, and yeah, that's turn 1. So good thing that's not going to be a turn 2 Gandalf, but then she doesn't roll a will anyways. And yeah, sadly, all 3 of my character cards do nothing against the Fellowship right now. Alright, so she moves, and the reroll, that Isengard regular, hits her, and it's a reveal, so that's very rough for the Fellowship. The reveal tile is 0, which is fine by me. I mean, at least it's not an eye. I move Isengard to war. There's arguments to be based that Master Sauron to war, but I mean, I don't have urgent plans to attack anyone, so might as well start with Isengard. And it doesn't look like I'll get anyone to war anytime soon. It's looking like a fairly slow military. So I move the Isengard guy along. Maybe that's wasted with Arfox and Goblinman, but I also didn't want to move Moria out, so the alternative would have been Faharat to Niharath. And yeah, that felt very not important right now, considering that I am severely lacking the mustard eyes. Do anything with them anytime soon. And Robin moves again, and she's safe this time. So that's fair, I guess. I mean, she certainly wasn't too lucky so far with the hunt. But this was the most likely roll for me to hit her, and this is the one that fails. And I have nothing to punish her. So a little sad, but okay. Yeah, so that's turn 2. And I draw Candles of Corpses, that's great, considering how hard the hunt has been for her so far. And I discard Dreadful Spells. Usually I love this card, but I'm I have a very stacked hand. I'm very slow, so I'm probably want to keep Gron to hopefully be faster with the military. Or if I go corruption strategy, I want to use it to cycle. I always love forward mustering card. Shadow's Gather is one of the two best strategy cards in the game for the Shadow, rivaling Ossess of Umbar, Return to Valinor, the Deadly Strife. I'm almost never getting to discard a Deadly Strife. And then Many Kings to the Service of Mordors. In my opinion, probably the best mustering card. Next to Shadows over Misty Mountains. Because it sets up the dual line perfectly. And is playable even without them at all. Alright, so finally I'll get some musters. But she hasn't been rolling another Will of the Wisp anyway, so me not getting Saruman before turn 3 didn't really hurt her at all because she wasn't rolling a Will anyways. So that's a little unlucky for me, and somewhat okay for her. So she moves, she's safe, that's fine. I set up for Woodland Realm and Lorien. And she starts mustering the elves, fine by me. I attack the north at Old Forest Road. I don't really have a playable card. All my cards are amazing, so I'd rather play nothing than have to discard one of these amazing cards. And I can't cycle with King anyways. So she moves again. This time I hit a 3. And so corruption is starting to mount a little. Like she's only 4 steps out, but and she's only on 3 corruption, but a lot of tiles have been drawn already. Five successful, no, actually 4 successful hunts, but 5 tiles being drawn on 6 steps. That's pretty good. Now I play candles. I don't want to discard even more. Yeah, she's mustering the elves again. And I just get Saruman because I feel like, okay, there's nothing I really need to rush. Me attacking the elves right now wouldn't really change anything because she can't muster the elves yet anyways. The one thing it does do is that if she rolls Will of the West, she can get Gandalf now. But I mean, that alone is not a reason to delay Saruman. So Fellowship declares, of course. I don't allocate more ice. Maybe I should have. But yeah, this is a fine roll for me. And I was thinking, okay, well, if she rolls a Will, then the first thing she's going to do is bring in Gandalf the White. So she's much less likely to move a lot this turn. So I wasn't going to overdo it. And with my military being this slow, I felt like I have to start to pressure her to some degree so that she can't just move once per turn only and then still be safe because she's moving so slowly. So yeah, I'm a little sad she gets the Will right after I bring in Saruman, which is perfect timing for her because yes, they are late, the Wills, but she's got them when she needed them, which is the most important thing, I think. Yeah, now Besiege Lorien. Always go Lorien first because of Party Grade. So she musters in Woodland Realm makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's a little sad she got that one regular into Woodland Realm because now with my attack on Woodland Realm it also pushes the north closer to war. So that's an issue. The Witch King. Yeah, and I play Grant here. I'm not entirely sure if that's correct. But I feel like there's some chance I make rapid progress with the military this turn or the next. I don't have anything super playable. I mean, I really don't want to play Give It to Us now. That can wait for next turn, or maybe even when she does make Mordor. So yeah, what else am I gonna do with a muster? And she's got a pretty big army there. I mean, she has 6 HP against my 11, so I'd rather not risk Dale first and then Woodland Realm. So yeah, I decided to do it like this. And I played Deadly Strife first. That's a little risky, but I mean, what else am I gonna play? I really like to save many kings for later, and it could fail if she gets like 4 hits and I read nothing. So I felt like Deadly Strife is probably the best choice. Want to make it short and quick, and she's only rolling for combat dice. But then my combat roll sucks. Reroll saves it a little to get 3 hits. That's okay. And her roll is just brutally bad. Yeah, that's super unlucky for her. But she's been getting very good action dice at least, so it's I think okay that she gets a little unlucky with the combat. And it's the first combat we've had all game, so very early to tell. So yeah, here I think I play Relentless Assault. Yeah. And since the army is still pretty healthy, pretty sure I take 2 hits here. Yep. And I get 3 hits. A little unlucky again on the combat roll, but the leader reroll once again saves the day. MadRobin's elves really don't want to fight. So yeah, that's fine with me. I don't play a card, I don't hit. So I press, and this time I get my 1 hit. And that was pretty good. So now the North is at war, she can muster an elite into Dale, which I would not love to see, but because I have many kings at the service of Mordor, that wouldn't be so bad for me. And her mustering into Dale was something that I accounted for because it lowers the odds of her getting to Mordor next turn, and I really don't want her to make Mordor next turn, or else I'm going to be in really deep problems. So I was kind of hoping she would muster into Dale, and then also hoping that this hopefully buys me 1 more turn. So she musters in Dale. Happy about that. I attack Dale from Witch King, and I play. Or maybe I play Great Host here. Yeah, I do play Great Host here because I've. Yeah, because I'm really desperate to get that army down. I guess I really don't want that elite to make it to Erebor. And I get lucky. I do get my 2 hits plus 1 from Great Host, so that was very worth it. And draw. And yeah, I really need the reinforcements from Rune, so I don't like to do this, but using a hybrid die to muster. But I've been really staffed to musters, so yeah, that was very important, I think, to use them now. I draw Corsairs, that's very, very, very good. Yeah, and she gets a pretty bad roll, but it's good enough to make it to Mordor, and that's a problem for me. So the whole plan of her using that will not to move but to muster unit into Dale backfired for her because the lead still didn't make it out. But then she still got a good enough roll to probably make Mordor, and I have nothing in my hand to stall her, which is the big issue here. She moves, I hit her, nice, it's a reveal. But even if I hit her again and reveal her again without any cards to stop her, doesn't really matter too much. But the hope is that at least, hopefully, she'll be corrupted heavily by moving 2 more times this turn. So I hit her again, 1 in reveal, perfect. Another non-eye tile out of the pool. And it's always tricky, with these ones. You don't really want to take more corruption than, say, 5 or 6. But even at 6, if you run into 1, you really don't want to random Strider into 1, right? So that would also be a problem. But right now, she's at 6 corruption with 9 HP in the Fellowship, so that's good on paper, right? So you had -3 effective corruption with a hunt pool that is still pretty soft, which is surprising to me, considering I've hit her a lot, but I mean, it's not that bad. Still plenty of non-eye tiles there that don't really do too much to her. But she is getting high on corruption, which is a very big thing. So she hides. I shuffle armies along, and she hits me ring. Move again. Makes sense. I hit her. I don't reveal her. It's another one, and so she decides to take it as corruption, which makes sense, but it pushes her to a whooping 7 corruption, with 5 companions still left in the pool. Okay, so now I'll play Shadows Gather. It's a little wasted. I only moved them 2 spaces, but I really want to, make some progress. The other alternative would have been to play Corsairs of Umbar, but then I'm leaving the Witch King out here with no army. Didn't really feel great either. So I debate between attacking Arrow now and playing another red tile, but since the Fellowship is not revealed going into Mordor, felt like I really need to get the reds in and up my chances of corrupting her and stalling her to get more character cards. So yeah, she did make it in turn 5, which is not good. And effective corruption is at -2, which is very, very good. And the hunt pool is also not that bad. Like, it's not amazing because I have 2 red tiles in. So this is a hunt pool. I mean, it's 12 tiles, 4 reds, 4 eyes and 2 reds, which are not good. And then I guess 2 threes, which are somewhat painful, and 3 twos, which are not bad, but also not super good. So yeah, I guess there's only 1 tile that's really good. But she's a -2, so she can afford to take 2 damage per step and still be completely fine. Actually, she can take 3s. 3 corruption per step, can she? Yeah, 3 would be too much. But so the 2s and the 1s are good. 3s are okay-ish, and the eyes, well, and the reds are obviously not that good for her. So, now I'm debating, because I got a pretty difficult decision to make. Option 1 is allocate 1 eye, the bare minimum, and just hope that the red tiles will be enough to stall her and that she doesn't roll basically any movement. But the problem is she still has Strider as the guide, and she's very fine in corruption, right? So she's at -2, which is extremely good. Like, usually you would say that at effective 2 corruption, it's somewhat even depending on the pool. But if it's like an average pool, I guess this one is a little worse than average for the 3 people. So I guess if she were at 2 corruption right now, it would be bad for her, but not impossibly bad. But at -2, like, this is a perfectly fine hunt pool for her. So it's very unlikely that I'll corrupt her if I don't heavily commit to it. And she's at this very weird situation where she's high on corruption and also high on fellowship companions. So I can allocate a lot of eyes, and it will take her a while to whittle down the fellowship to the point where she can throw in the hobbits to absorb corruption. So for example, I could allocate 5 eyes here, and if she runs into an eye, she can throw Strider at it, but she would still have to take 2 extra corruption at least if I don't roll an extra eye. And then if she doesn't move at all against this many eyes, then she'll take 1 more corruption for free, and the problem will get even worse next turn. And then even if she does take only 2 corruption and take Strider, I can still allocate 4 eyes next turn. And she still can't throw in the hobbits, so she would take at least 2 more corruption on the next eye. But obviously, her running into eyes is basically a 50-50 at this point with this pool. So, yeah. Might not work out. It's risky. But still, I mean, if she's running into 3, then Strider dies. Well, actually, even if it's a 2, I'm not sure you can afford to take a random, because then if it's a Hobbit, you go up to 8 corruption. Very tricky. Very tricky. For both of us, because like if I allocate 4 or 5 eyes, actually just 5, I mean, there's no way I allocate just 4, either 1 or 5. And then if I go 5, then I'll really slow down my military so much. But the good thing is, nobody from her is at war, right? I mean, okay, she has the North and Carrack, but I mean, there's nobody there. And while I do have empty Moria, empty Dolgolda, it's gonna take her a while, and I just need a single muster to block these strongholds for a long time. Um, so the flip side is, what if I go military? Just allocate one eye. Well, I have to account for her to be able to dunk in 2 turns. That's the really bad problem about that. So it's very likely that she just dunks next turn if I don't commit to the hunt, because she's expected to roll 2.5 movement per turn. That's 5 moves in 5 turns. She can hide with Strider if she gets revealed to, say, a 1 and reveal. There is such a thing. Well, there's Eyes if she's running into Eyes, and there's only 1 in the pool. So in that case, she would probably random. She probably won't have to sack Aragon to it, Strider to it, and so she can hide with any die. So she can probably make it to step 3 this turn. She also has 2 rings to help out if she doesn't roll enough movement, and then next turn she only needs 2 more steps and win the game if she avoids the red tiles. And then even if she does run into red tile, she might still dunk it. And at the very worst case for her, she's gonna dunk on turn 6, 7, 8 on turn 8. So best case scenario, she dunks on turn 8. So best case for me is I need to win next turn, and more likely I would have to win this turn, because it's pretty likely she's gonna win on next turn if I don't heavily commit to the hunt right now. And looking at this board state, it's basically completely impossible for me to win this turn, right? I mean, I do have Oseas in hand, and Dol Amroth is pretty weak, but I'm only at 3 victory points. So even if we say Lorien falls to fighting Uruk-hai, and Dol Amroth falls this turn, that's 1, 2, 3 dice plus some Nazgul movement, that's 4 dice. And then we say Erebor, 2 more dice, so that's 6 dice. And that still only brings me to 9 victory points. So even Erebor, Lorien, and Dol Amroth all falling this turn cost me 6 dice. I only have a maximum of 8. And it would still only get me to 9 victory points. And then I would also need at least 2 more attacks to then take Pelagia out of Dol Amroth. So basically impossible to do this turn. And I need combat to go my way. And then I still probably lose next turn. So yeah, how likely is it that she's not gonna dunk next turn if I don't commit anything to the hunt? I have to say, in actual numbers, but it feels to me like the chances of her dunking next turn is like, I don't know, 70%, maybe even higher than that. And the flip side of it is, if I don't commit heavily to the hunt and still roll a number of eyes, then she's less likely to dunk next turn, but I'm also less likely to win a military victory next turn. And so for that reason, I decide, okay, going military doesn't seem like a good choice here, so let's go full on 5 eyes. Because this seems like the much more reasonable approach at this point. A little weird because Fellowship hit point total is pretty good, but because of how the mechanics work with the companions and the eye tiles, the fact that you can only separate one at a time and throw him into the eyes, I think this makes perfect sense. And yeah, it is somewhat a desperation move, but I feel like, yes, I am at this point where I'm a little desperate. Fellowship sprinting too fast, my military is way too slow. And the early hunt success meant that we are now in this position where it's a viable strategy. Yeah, I did get lucky in the hunt. Otherwise, this probably wouldn't be possible. But yeah, I still need to make the most out of it, and this is what I decide to go with. And I don't think she's happy about that. And yeah, so now what do you do as 3 people? What are her cards? Bilbo Song, that's great. And there is another way, so that's 2 amazing cards. The problem, though, is she's gonna have to get through 5 companions before she even gets Bilbo. And yeah, I mean, playing any of those for less than maximum effect feels like a really tough choice. Meanwhile, while my role isn't particularly amazing, but I mean, I wasn't expecting it to. I'm allocating a bunch of eyes, and I also rolled an extra eye. So if she runs into an eye now, she's gonna go up to 10 corruption. That's pretty harsh. Yeah, she does some army movement. Like, okay, something you can consider here as free people. Can you go for military victory? Like I said, the only nation that can actually do something, well, okay, are the elves and the north. So yeah, you can pressure Moria, but I mean, I do have this army right next to Lorien that can come in and poop them out again. Um, and at this point, I'm basically giving up on a military victory. Like, I'm not completely giving up on it. Um, number one goal is slow her down. And if Hand is a very good success, then I'll just corrupt her. But even if it's not, a huge success, I just need to stall her for long enough that I have enough time to get a military victory. So that's the plan. So she musters up more. That's fine. Rohan wasn't my target anyways. My target is Dew for 5, Lorien for 7, then Dol Amroth for 9, and then either Edoras or more likely Pelargir for my 10th victory point. So she moves. And yeah, I'm saying in game 1 I ran into 3 eyes. So it would be very fair if she ran into an eye too. And it's a red tile, so I'm a little sad. I really would have preferred running into an eye right now. But I'm okay with a red tile. That's not that bad. And this is another very tough choice. Like, what do you do as 3 people here? Do you risk randoming into Strider? Or do you take 1 more corruption and go up to 8? But I think you have to probably take a random and just hope it's not Strider. Like, if you get a Hobbit here, that's perfect. But even Legolas, Boromir, Gimli aren't amazing because you waste 1 corruption. And she does take a random. It's Boromir, so that's good enough. I'm okay with that. It's inefficient use of the companions. Makes it more likely to random into Strider next time. So yeah, all is fine with me. Yeah, she also has Diane. I'm not happy about that, but what can you do? I play Palantir. I mean, getting rid of her Will of the West is fine. And if she leaves it up, then even better for me because I get to cycle more character cards, which is the only thing I'm afraid of. Oh, actually, I'm going for. So I discard Warm Tongue. That's interesting. Would have thought getting rid of Denethor's Folly would have made more sense. Especially seeing that I only have a single character card in hand. That's weird. But I guess I did say that I would try to still go for a military victory. I just need to slow her down. So I continue with the strategy 4 eyes it is. I mean, her fellowship HP did just decrease from -2 to 0, and she still got 5 steps to go. So it's much more likely to corrupt her now. And boy, am I glad. Like, at the start of this turn, I was considering to switch to a normal military strategy. Like, every turn you need to reevaluate your strategy and see if it's still the right one. But I still felt like, okay, you're now at 0 corruption. A little more risky for her, but you can still dunk in 2 turns, and still very unlikely for me, especially seeing her playing Dane, that I would be able to win this turn. So I stick with the plan, and she gets this usually amazing rule for the Fellowship, right? 3 character dice, 2 Wills of the West. Very good for sprinting. But you can't really afford to sprint. Like any eye would basically almost instantly kill you. Like if you move and run into an eye, you go up to 10 corruption on step 1 and no more Strider. And I might have a card that punishes you, which I don't. But you don't know that as 3 people. So yeah, I'm very relieved I didn't stop allocating eyes this turn. So I buff up Erbo, and she did leave the Palantir up, which was a mistake, I think. She probably should have discarded the Palantir first and then draw a character card. But I guess she's committed to say, okay, let him. I mean, I can cycle with the Witch King anyways, so she probably felt like, okay, might as well leave the character, the Palantir up because I desperately need to find Arthelas, which is probably the card she's looking for. So okay, I go for fighting Urkai and Erebor. That's a little risky, but I guess her getting 13 hits in 3 rounds of combat is not that high. And all I care about is cycling character cards. Well, not all I care about, but the logic is I want to cycle character cards. I want to put the pressure on as much as I can to force her to not be able to just sit it out and move super slowly. Because if she gets lucky this turn, then next turn she will only face 3 allocated eyes from me, and then it becomes so much easier for me for her to dodge the corruption attempt. I really need to make the most out of it if at all possible, right? Because like if she runs at 3 and just takes down Strider, then there's only going to be 3 companions left. I can allocate only 3 eyes then, and she would be okay on corruption still, especially with her hand. Like there is another way in Bilbo's song. So I also want to pressure her to move faster than she feels comfortable doing, which would open her up to get corrupted. So yeah, and I get this amazing roll, 4 hits. So now I feel really good about Erbo. So I play Devilry, right, because I have an Isengard unit up there, but she counters it with advantageous position. But I just roll amazing. And she continues not hitting anything at all. And so yeah, this battle just completely goes my way. And yeah, suddenly I'm looking at a board state that's not bad at all for me. And that puts a lot of pressure on her. Now I play Cassez. She moves. And it's only a 3. So perfect tile for her, but still painful. I mean, so now on step 1, she's at effective 3 corruption. So when we say 2 on step 0 is kinda, depending on the hunt pool, even or not as even. 3 on step 1 is better than 2 on step 0, but the hunt pool is also not super friendly for her. I mean, that said, she does have amazing cards for it, but you know, it's a little dicey. I move Nazgul around. Don't have anything playable right now. And she really feels pressured now because and I can understand that. Because I'm at 5 victory points. Soul Emeralds will fall because she knows she has nothing to stop it unless she top decks hidden ships. And Lorien also looks doomed to fall. So it's now suddenly looking pretty likely that I'm gonna win next turn. And if she doesn't move here, she needs 4 more steps, dodging reveals and reds. I mean, she can maybe tank 1 reveal, but she definitely can't take 2 reveals. And she almost certainly can't take red tile. A for corruption and B for time. So she risks a move. I mean, it's 50-50. almost. Slightly better than 50-50 for her to dodge the reds and the eyes. But an eye now would do 7 damage. Yeah. And I do roll into an eye. So third step, first eye is okay, I guess, but I got lucky in Mortar with 1, then the 3, and then the eye. It's perfect ordering considering how the game unfolded. But yeah, with Erebor going this, I guess she probably wouldn't have moved again if Erebor had gone much more in her favor. But since Erebor just completely fell over, she had to take more risks. And I mean, it's still possible with Bilbo's song, and there is another way that she can get out of this. But yeah, now she's on step 2 and on 10 corruption with a hunt pool that's not even good. Like the 3 would kill her. The 2s would probably still kill her if I have any card that does damage on reveal, and I do have that with Lure of the Ring. So even the 2s would kill her if she didn't have Bilbo's song. There is another way. And eyes too, right? I mean, if I roll a single additional eye, then these eyes would also kill her. So suddenly it's looking completely dire for her. And now I get this beautiful roll because suddenly I don't need to worry about eyes in the box as much anymore because her corruption is so high. And I do threaten win this turn. And I still have the balance here too. Yeah, and she plays Wahir, interesting. Oh, and now she draws Atlas. Ooh, that's 2 turns too late. Yeah. Guess he just wants to stall me out this turn and then try it next turn, I guess. So I go for Dolamroth first. That's the much easier stronghold to take, and I want to pressure Pelagia as quickly as I can. I want to use Shadows Moving to draw into another character card, and I don't want to play Shadows Moving before I take Dolamroth. But combat goes pretty poorly this time around for me. I just get 2 hits, 3 rounds of combat, even through Desperate Battle. And then I miss again. And this suddenly starts to look like I might not have enough dice to win this turn. But this time I get that 1 hit. So it still works. 1 die, Florian, Shadows Moving, and then attack into Pelagia. I can still win. And I also have a ring, so I have 1 spare die. But she pressures a reinforcement on Pelagia. That means that I might not be able to win this turn after all. And yeah, I'm obviously drawing character cards because I'm now in a position where I feel like, okay, it's super likely that I'll gonna win on corruption with 2 reveal damage cards now, breaking and lure, and a pool that basically forces her to reveal to anything she runs into because her corruption is so high. Other than the 0, I guess. That's only a 1 in 10 chance. Yeah, it's looking pretty good for me. Yeah, since I didn't have single strategy card, I guess it would be okay to draw 1. Now I try to kill Gandalf. And amazingly, I timed the 1s directly on the reroll against Confusion. Dodged a bullet there. I don't need to press here. Yeah, she's moving now. That's a mistake. Well, actually, yeah, it's tricky. So the thing is, if she waits, it increases my odds of finding red tiles. So moving early is a good choice, generally. The problem is she didn't have another die to hide with. And so if she gets revealed like she's doing now, then it gives me the option of playing more than one damage on reveal card. I missed this though. So you'll see me, like I have the win now, right? I have 2 dice that let me play cards. And I have 2 cards that can kill her together. But I'm tunneling on Lorien because I feel like, okay, let's just kill Gandalf this turn. And then play one, like in my mind, I can only play one reveal card whenever she gets revealed. But that's not true. I can play 2 in this case because she can't hide. So yeah, in my mind, okay, let's kill Gandalf with Balrog. Get 1 hit, but nothing more. So I press, try it again, but I fail. And so now it's hitting me. Wait, I can just win right now and not even deal with Gandalf. Because I still have Ring, so this Master can be turned into Palantir. And so I can just end the game now, which I do. And yeah, I think this is a good example of how games that start out pretty good for the Fellowship. It's okay, it's a mixed bag for the Fellowship. I would say pretty good in terms of speed and military safety. Because there was no way, almost no way, for me a Shadow to outrace her. And when you look at the rolls she had on turn 6 and 7, she definitely would have been able to dunk in 2 turns in Mortal. But yeah, in the end, like most things are not as one-sided as they may appear on first glance. Like I got very lucky on the early hunt, and that cascaded into this weird situation where she didn't really have the dice to separate anyone, and that also would have brought other risks. And randoming into ones would have also been very risky. Imagine you lose Strider to the 1 and then fail to make Mordo because of it, then you lose another turn, and that then could give the Shadow the time he needs to really accelerate its military campaign. It's very difficult. But this situation, going into Mordor, effectively fine on corruption, but just effectively fine, right? You have very high actual corruption and very high fellowship hit points in terms of companions. So it's a very dangerous situation. And yeah, this is one way to sometimes capitalize on it. And the pool was so small that it was pretty likely for her to run into ice sooner rather than later. And so yeah, that's what I was hoping for, and got lucky that it played out the way it did. And so yeah, that's game 2, which means I will have another crack at MadRobin. And I think we both know that she's gonna pick herself to play Shadow, so I'll have another chance to beat MadRobin playing as 3 people, and this time I get some help in terms of action token to hopefully secure my place in the semifinals. So yeah, I hope this was an exciting game for you to watch, and also perhaps somewhat educational as to how you can switch to corruption strategies later on in the game. The situation calls for it and allows for it. If you have any comments, please let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day, and goodbye.